Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Matt, and we are going to talk about Glow Season 2, Episode 7. It's called Nothing Shattered. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. So this one started off differently than most of the episodes in that it just picked up immediately. The very second we ended last episode with Debbie and Ruth in the ring, and the foot potentially breaking, which is confirmed in this episode, it did break. And she's in pain, and it's very awkward, and everyone's just kind of like, "Oh, what do we do? What do we do?" You know, and camera dude, sort of, who's been kind of, he was kind of pissed at her for the last couple of episodes, gets in the ring and tries to pick her up. And there's a bit of comedy as he can't go through the ropes while holding.
Yeah,
another
I
person.
also love Bash not knowing how to call it because, in today's they would throw up the X, right? And that's how you would know what's up. But these guys are all still new, and he doesn't know if he should call it like this was supposed to happen or like divert attention away. So a little awkwardness all over.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing them handle this. But I think because obviously this episode almost entirely takes place at the hospital. Once they leave the ring and they go to the hospital, and Melrose drives her, in the limo, which I'd completely forgotten. This is the first time it's mentioned this season that she's got a limo. That was a big thing last year.
Oh no, they brought it up earlier in the season though too. Because she could transport multiple people, she was saying. I forget where they were going.
Oh, sure.
But yeah.
I'd completely forgot about it because I remember it being like a big part of her introduction that she just happens to have a limo.
Yeah.
But they go to the hospital and the whole thing's put us in the hospital. But I think what really stuck out to me about this episode was I don't think we'd kind of really it hit us how close they'd all gotten. Like, everyone cares about her, everyone's worried, everyone comes with her, with the exception of Debbie, who kind of stays behind, and we'll talk about that. But, all the girls come with her, and they all come rushing into the hospital, all still in costume because we're all just at the show. And they're sitting around waiting. They're getting angry at the nurses for not moving quick enough, for not taking her in to see the doctor, all that stuff. Even just the humour of Bash walking in and being like, "Hey, she doesn't have insurance. You need to fill this out." And he's like, "Wait, you don't have medical insurance? You're in a wrestling show. How could you not have insurance?" Like, because we're employed by you. That's why we don't have insurance.
Yep. Well, I like the raise your hand if you don't, and it's all of them except for Cherry and her husband and Melrose.
And Melrose
parents paid for hers, and then Cherry and her husband are both stunt people. They're like, we don't have a death wish.
Yes.
So of course we have insurance. But
yeah. So that was a good fun moment, and Bash is like, "Okay, right, this is my responsibility. I'll take care of this." And I loved it when he comes in later in the episode because, "Oh yeah, we can't afford everyone getting hurt," and he turns around to Sam and just whispers, "We can afford two more people getting hurt. We can afford that exactly."
That was pretty great.
That was pretty good.
Bash also talks with I think it was Sam, right? That how silly was he to expect to run a wrestling company and nobody get hurt, and that his mom or dad took him on a plane to go see a WWF event with Bruno Sammartino and Stan Hansen, where Hansen hurt Sammartino, and so I had to pause it real quick and I had to check if this was like a legit thing, if the writers, and sure enough, it happened in 1976.
Oh, cool.
So it's pretty cool that the writers went into the wrestling history books.
Yeah, which would put him at what, teenage years?
Because that's about probably 6-7 years before this. Because what was this, 83, 84?
No, it's about 10 because it's after Back to the Future and stuff.
Oh, that's right, because they made a Back to the Future reference.
The Back to the Future reference.
Yeah, so it's got to be post that. So yeah, it's even later than I thought.
Because Sam says to Ruth, "Where you're going, you don't need legs," and Bash is like, "You did see Back to the Future."
Yeah. So yeah, it's got to be at least 86.
Yeah. So I think it's 86, 87 is when we're at. So yeah, I think it's about 10 years, which would put him about teenage years. I think, given he's a 20-something rich boy who wants to put on a wrestling show. Because he just really likes wrestling, and that's cool. But no, it was the heart. I feel like obviously there's the big confrontation later on, but I feel like the highlight of this episode almost is just the pure heart that's in this one, where Ruth's waiting for the X-ray, then she's waiting for the results, and we get this montage of all the girls trying to keep her busy and keep her entertained, and just not be bored and worried and distract her a little bit. And they're all doing various different things. Melrose is doing the quiz from the ladies magazine, but just answering it for herself instead of letting Ruth answer.
Yeah,
She's Melrose.
it's really not for Ruth as much as it's for her, which is pure Melrose.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
All that stuff. We found out Arthur was in medical school as well, actually, at one point.
Yeah.
But that was actually something else I really liked about this episode, is there was a couple of combination of characters I don't think we've ever really had for any like proper scenes. Like having just Arthur and Sam have a conversation like that, and he learns something about her, that she was in med school and she dropped out. And it's not like she dropped out before she started this. No. During season 1, she always had books with her because she was studying for med school, and he never noticed.
Well, I like too that she calls that out, like that they don't really interact, and because he was like, oh, I didn't even notice she had books. She's like, well, why would you? You know, like, so it was a real nice moment there. Yeah. And again, it's humanizing Sam. I like when we can humanize him.
Yeah, and obviously the biggest humanizing moment is after the broken leg, because she finds out, and because Debbie's there at this point, and the doctor's like, oh, it's good news, it's a clean break, nothing's shattered. You'll be in a cast for 8 weeks, and that'll be fine. You'll be back on your feet after that. And she immediately gets upset, and I was like, okay, that's the rest of the show then, right? That's them shooting the rest of the season just out the window. And Sam comes in later when he talks to her about it. He basically says, look, this show is nothing without you, and I'm not going to do this show without you. It is the most brutally honest and endearing Sam's ever gone. He sees that she's hurting, and he says exactly what he needs to. And so obviously Ruth's going to be around in a storytelling capacity for the rest of this season, sure. But yes, there was so much fun little sentiments in this one. The idea of Sam hates hospitals, and the idea that he put his mother in a hospital because he thought the point was to make her live as long as possible. That's the game, instead of letting her go out on her own terms. So that kind of translates to the show, where like, hey, okay, we're probably going to be cancelled, because that's the thing. He's honest with the girls. He comes back out after they give them the news about Ruth, and they're all sitting there in the waiting room, and it's like, hey Sam, do you think we're going to get our old time slot back? And well, I think they might, because we've got more seasons of the show. Probably. I don't know if they've not renewed it yet, but but he says no, probably not. He doesn't really believe that they're going to. And it's Arthur who says, hey, then let's go out on our own terms, right? It's like, yeah. So when he's talking to Ruth, he's like, yeah, let's just unleash all the crazies, and the crazies he means the girls, and just see what happens. Let's just do everything. Let's go nuts. And that was a really sweet scene with Ruth, because I feel like his bonding with Ruth, and obviously there was some fun to be had with him kind of like, to the camera guy, oh, I could have carried her out too, it's my show, by the way.
Well, and just the way that he says it, he's so acerbic, just like you think you're special? I could have done it, but someone had to shoot the show. Like, it's so, that's almost more Mark Maron than it is Sam. Like, so, God, that was a good moment. I also love when he signs the cast, and she's like, SS. He's like, yeah, it's my initials. And she's like, well, can you do something so it doesn't look Nazi related? And like, it just, those feel like real human moments.
Oh, it's so good. I love that Bash actually writes on the cast a Bash production, because he paid for the cast.
Bash really Howard production. I thought that was great too. Yeah. He also adds an exclamation point, to it.
He's proud of it. Because there's even that moment where the camera dude kind of like calls Sam an asshole, because he goes to check on Ruth and he's left with the rest of the girls, and he's like, oh, he's such an asshole. And everyone kind of looks at him awkwardly, and he's like, well, he is. And they kind of agree, yeah, Sam is kind of an asshole, but, he's our Sam.
He's our asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
It's like, they don't quite go as far to defend him, but like there's like a camaraderie there, and I feel like that's what this episode really showed, because even Ruth brings it up. When Sam says, it's just a TV show, she's like, no, it's not a TV show. She's breaking down, she's crying. It's not just a TV show. I've been working this hard for 10 years, and this is the first time that anyone's cared if I get hurt. I 15 people came to the hospital with me. If this happened before I got this job, no one would have came to the hospital. Maybe be one person, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
This is how much it means to her, and of course that feeds into the Debbie side of things, where Debbie, she's a little bit shocked in the ring, and then she has that shower scene where Bash comes in and she just doesn't care that he's there. She's just, no, you can stay, it's fine, whatever. And she's
she's really vulnerable, the way that they shot that, because it's her with the shower in the water, and like it's not even that she's showering. It's like she's just rinsing away everything, you know. So it was, and then when Bash comes in and she doesn't play any to it, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I like the interesting thing is that both of them feel guilty in this scene. That Bash feels responsible, that he pushed the girls. He said more wrestling, better wrestling, and this happened. And of course Debbie feels responsible, but Debbie of course has a hard time admitting how she feels, because when she goes to see Debbie, or goes to see Ruth rather at the hospital.
Yeah.
And they have like basically the scene that we've been building to for like a season and a half. This is the scene where it all kind of finally comes out. And I think what's genius about this scene is that something we've been saying for the majority of this season is that we feel that at this point Ruth has kind of paid her dues, right? She's kind of like, we're at a point now where Debbie's actually being kind of the villain by still holding it against her. And I think the genius thing about that is that, so Debbie brings up, yo, you slept with my husband, right? You know, when they start arguing about it and about her making a mistake and, you know, whatever. When Ruth fires back that she's been eating shit for well, not 2 years, it's not been 2 years in the show, but for months, and she's done everything she can, and she's tried this, and then she brings up everything Debbie's done this season. Oh, you ruined my date with the camera dude. You made a point of you stole this show. This was my thing, and you came in and you know, got a producer credit and put yourself above me. And Debbie's trying to defend, like, no, I earned all my dues and blah blah blah. And then of course she even brings up the network guy. She's like, oh, you tried to tell me I should have been raped to help the show. Like, she brings all this stuff up, and it's like, at this point the show has done such a good job of like all these elements where over the course of the season we've been feeling this about Debbie, that she is being too hard on her, that she is not being a human being about this, that this all feels so true. It's like Ruth finally unloading all this is so invigorating, because we have been feeling this as well. We've been along for this ride, and we're on her side here. And it's not that, you know, Ruth never did anything wrong. She always did, and you know, that's why I don't think in season 1 we ever felt like we always felt Debbie's you know, hatred towards Debbie's you know, cold shoulder, if you will, was justified.
Animosity.
Yeah, it felt justified. But this season it's taken a bit of a turn, and Ruth calling all this out, it all rings so true. It all feels right. Every single line in this scene feels earned by the actions of the last, you know, 7 episodes. And I think that's really impressive, because it makes a big blowout like this feel like it was worth something. It's funny because if you compare it to a wrestling show, the idea of a feud building up and then you have the match. This was the match. This was the blow off. And it's not a great, you know, it doesn't have a great ending. The fight, they're both crying. Debbie leaves. She's angry, and it's actually Sheila of all people. And again, Sheila and Debbie are not a combination of characters. Just to go back to having even Bash and Debbie, like, we have seen them together, but not in like an intimate scene like that was. Or, and again, Sam and Arthur, but it's actually Sheila who basically compares them to her parents and how, like, they always fight and it would build up for a long time, but they'd always get back together. They never actually got a divorce. And she's like, no, Debbie, you take her clothes so she can leave the hospital with some dignity and not in a leotard. You do that. And I think I appreciated at the end, you know, when we get this big scene where she comes in and she gives her the clothes, and, you know, Ruth lets her sign her cast. I like that there was no like proper moment of I'm sorry, I forgive you, or anything like that. It's all better just, now. Yeah, it's just all through the actions, and it may not be completely better now, but it's like it's the first real honest step in the right direction, really.
They're both agreeing to go forward with it. And that makes Ruth a better person than I, because I never liked Debbie less than in that scene. Because when she said, you know, like, you know, can't you forgive me for that? That was like, you know, I paid my price, and she just said no. It's just like there's nothing that Ruth could have ever done up to that point that Debbie was gonna forgive her, you know. And I was just like, man, she's really. Then you break her leg, you know, after she told you just not. So the person that I am, that would have been it, man. I would have told her to get out. So the fact that Ruth
and that's the thing. The other girls, when they're talking about it, they even like ponder, did she do that intentionally? Like, was that an intentional thing? And then later on, like, Debbie even like shouts out, like, no, this wasn't some, you know, like revenge fantasy. This isn't what this is.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she feels the need to say that, maybe at least deep down, I don't think it was a revenge fan. I don't think she did do it intentionally.
No.
But I think the fact that she feels the need to clarify that, she knows that it might look like that, and she knows that.
Yeah, she knows the narrative.
She feels responsible, and she feels she's almost worried that she did subconsciously do it intentionally. I think she's worried about that, and she's worried about that guilt. And I think her lashing out at Ruth is her not wanting to admit that she did. She's the one who messed up here. She's the one who, because she doesn't even apologize for breaking her foot. She just kind of like comes in and is like, "Oh, how's you gonna be fine? Oh, 8 weeks. That's not too bad." Like she's everything's about making herself feel better about what she did.
Yeah, she's deflecting.
Yeah.
And that's been her this whole season, you know,
mm-hmm.
from getting rid of all the stuff in the house, you know, to going over and talking with Mark and his new girlfriend. You know, it's always about Debbie. It's never and Ruth even called that out because she was like, "You weren't happy in your marriage. You were just married to Mark to be married." You know, because she calls out that they were on a rap party and she made out with some other actor or crew member, and Ruth never told anybody. You know, in fact, this is the first time it's being brought up on the show. So
yeah, and also, of course, Ruth also brings up the idea that Debbie always kind of used her as a punching bag. There's just in terms of, like you know, she would want to hear Ruth's stories of how she had a shitty audition or how she failed at something, how she had a crappy job that day or whatever, and then just to make her feel better that her life was going okay. That, you know, on paper, yes, I'm married, I've got a kid, I've got a career, I've got a regular job in a soap opera. Life's going swell, but she wasn't very happy, and she was almost making herself feel better by just listening to, oh, this is how much worse Ruth's life sounds. Therefore, you know, I'm doing okay. You know, that's kind of the thing. And now it's not doing okay, and now everything's going to shit. And she almost has to have Ruth being in a worse place just to make herself feel better. You know, so this does feel like a growing point for both characters. It feels like a growing point for their relationship. And you know, we end with a slow motion shot of them leaving the hospital. Or four of our main characters. Although credits due, I feel like Arthur got a really good scene this episode. Sheila got a really good scene this episode. I feel like every so often one of the other characters who are relatively minor compared to the main 4 or 5 that we typically focus on. And they get a little bit of depth and just a little bit more to make them feel like real people.
I like that Cherry was also workshopping her new character because, you know, she lost the junk chain match.
That's true, yeah.
And so they're gonna do like this voodoo priestess that kind of reminded me of Papa Shango.
Well, which they tease with the they do that in bed anyway as a couple. They like this role playing. So now it's become they're actually enacting out what they kind of doing, but just without the sex at the end. But he's pretending to be possessed or, you know, controlled, and he's like, oh, voodoo, you know, queen or whatever, and Sam's like, yeah, whatever, we're getting cancelled. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you can do it.
Just do it.
But so those are some of the fun beats. This is a really good episode. Like, this one's really been. The season's really just ramping up, so I'm wondering where it's going to go from here now. You know,
I mean,
because now they have nothing left to lose.
Yeah,
so...
I mean, I think the hope is that, you know, obviously, I mean, I could probably just look up how long the show ran in the 80s, but the hope is that it somehow does get saved and renewed before the end of the season, because they've not renewed it yet officially, Netflix, but it did just get nominated for 10 Emmys, so I feel like it's a pretty good chance that Glow Season 3 is going to be a thing next year. And given that the show seems to be going from strength to strength, I have no faults with this. Give me more.
No.
I'm all for it. So, it's funny, I remember saying this last season around episode 8 with the abortion stuff, where it got really touching and kind of like a bit more deep than I thought it was going to. And I feel like this season has just kind of continued that trend where it keeps hitting on things where I didn't expect it to handle its drama and its topics with the deft hand that it has. And I can't praise
this
it enough.
one where they're yelling at each other in the hospital room. My mother-in-law had walked in and she thought I was watching like a soap opera or something. She goes to my wife, goes, why is he watching this? And Ashley goes, oh, it's Chloe, it's about wrestling. It's fine. You know,
I feel like saying that it looks like a soap opera is almost an insult to the acting on this, because the acting in soap operas is not as good as what that was. That was a really well performed scene.
I'm using her words. Yeah. She said it was very soapy. So, because it's two people yelling at each other, because that's where she walked in. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't the conversation; they were just yelling and crying.
But of course, the difference here is that this has been, what, 17 episodes of build up that's earned this, where every single thing they're saying has impact, has weight.
Yeah, it's not melodramatic.
Yeah.
It's, properly dramatic. Nothing
straight
feels
up dramatic.
overdone.
Yes, none of your forced dramatic. Your proper straight up dramatic. Yeah. But there you go. So that great episode. Curious to see what we're doing with the last 3 episodes now, and see where we go from here. But that is episode 7. So we'll be back at the end of the week with episode 8. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you want to support us and make sure everything keeps happening and keep the channel living long and healthy and all the different shows we do, even $1 a month is a fantastic help. So you can go over there and have a look at that and look at all the exclusive content and bonuses you can get over there. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?